As a Manchester United fan, this is not a video I want to make. So what on earth went wrong with Manchester United this year? So for starters, I think the number one thing that went wrong was the management. This all started with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his poor management. I don't think his tactics cut the bill and just weren't the type of tactics meant for Manchester United. He played a counter-attacking style of football, which was found out in this year and eventually just was able to be stopped by almost every team, and as a result led to his sacking, obviously. And then Manchester United brought in an interim manager in Ralf Rangnick. Now, great idea, maybe not so great idea. They decided to bring in an interim manager in December with no desire to bring in a new and permanent deal on a manager. There was no promise of Ralf Rangnick getting the new job, and he was just ushered in to be this interim manager and move on to a front office and consultancy role. Ralf Rangnick was disrespected by the players and was disrespected by the club. He wasn't allowed to make signings in January, wasn't allowed to sell the players he wanted to sell in January, and ended up being stuck with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team, really. The players, on top of this, kind of stopped working in down tools, because why would they, for an interim manager, work just as hard? If he's not going to be here next year, then what does it matter to them? He wanted a true defensive midfielder to pair with Pogba, and he wasn't allowed to do this in January. And as a result, Pogba's form suffered and Manchester United's form as a whole suffered. The hole in midfield is just dreadful. When you have to start McTominay, they just could not dominate the ball and win back the ball as a Manchester United team should. You think of teams with Keane, Scholes, all those types of players who could just take the ball off you. They could take the ball off you, carry the ball, pass the ball, and give them to their more attacking players further up the pitch. Manchester United truly lacked that this year. On top of this, they had a poor back line, that both their fullbacks were either injured or poor. Luke Shaw, for example, wasn't the best and was also injured throughout the year, so a kind of culmination of factors there led to his kind of poor form, and Telles was nowhere near what we expected him to be. As for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot, neither were really cutting it as Manchester United quality. Dalot showed a little bit of flashes as he's still young and maybe has the talent, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka was well off it in terms of his performances and was nowhere near even last year's performances, which were pretty solid but kind of average. On top of this, their Maguire and Varane partnership was not the best. Varane was often injured and accrued a lot of injuries and struggled to find a run of form as a result. Harry Maguire, on the other hand, was seemingly always in the team, but always underperforming. The system that was played last year, and the system that will most likely be played next year in their 4-2-3-1, does not suit Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire sits a deep line, a low block, with multiple defensive midfielders in front of him, hence why he can play well for England. On top of this, they had no other attacking threats. Once Cristiano Ronaldo was injured, he was effectively their lifeline. Without him, they did not win a league game, and they really showed no signs of life. You think Tottenham, you think Norwich, where his hat-trick single-handedly won them that game. And without those, they could have quite easily gone the other way. And as embarrassing as that is for Manchester United, it just shows how important he was and how not the problem he was, really. So who should Manchester United let go, and what should they look to do in the transfer window? As we're kind of approaching the transfer window, we are, I think, 11 days in as of recording. Deals are starting to get done. Manchester United have not had a deal confirmed by Fabrizio Romano or any of those types of Twitter accounts, let alone an official deal. But some of the outgoings are already clear and have already happened. So the first one I want to talk about is Paul Pogba. He looks almost set to go to Juventus now. At the end of the day, it's a free deal. Manchester United really getting very little out of it. They lose a player of Pogba's calibre who was underutilised and really should have been a better player for Manchester United, but the scheme, the revolving door of managers, it just all didn't work out for him. Jesse Lingard, gone on a free. This is just poor management by Manchester United. He should have been gone last summer when you could have recouped some value for him, but they let him stay on, and as a result, instead of being able to sell him for 20-30 million to West Ham, he's probably going to go for free somewhere. And I'll lump these three in together. Juan Mata, Edinson Cavani, and Matic. They all should just go, and they all will go. They're all getting on past the pace. Cavani's been injured all year. Matic, still a very solid player, and I think he'll be a good fit. I believe it's Roma is where he's going. I think he'll be a great fit there. The pace of the game is slightly slower. He's still got the ability and the reading of the game to make plays, but he just struggles to keep up and play 90 minutes week in, week out. And a similar thing with Juan Mata. I think he's better suited to go back to Spain, go play in the Spanish league in a slower, less tempoed league. He showed flashes against Brentford, which kind of shows what he can do in a slower game, where everything's kind of his pace and he can just continue to orchestrate the midfield. But moving at the pace that the Premier League does, he just doesn't fit that anymore. So, onto the interesting ones. Dean Henderson. He's the first player I would get rid of. You can probably get about 30 million for him, especially if Newcastle want him. I don't see any sense in loaning him out and just having him play for almost, in a team that Newcastle could be a rival team next year as you approach the top 6, top 4 kind of area. You don't want to loan him out, get nothing for him, and then if he's crap, then you don't get anything for him at all. Get him out of the door for 20, 30 million, bring in some sort of decent backup goalkeeper. I mean, Tom Heaton can do a job at backup keeper, and get some money for him, really. Anthony Martial, he's a player. I'm sad to see him kind of tail off towards the end of his career now at Manchester United. I think he just needs to go find a new team, build some more confidence. He was poor at Seville this year, and I think he just needs to find something that fits for him and works for him. Andreas Pereira, I mean, this is a boring one that I just want to get out of the way. Let's get him off, 10 million, easy work, really. I think Fenerbahce are extremely interested in him, and I think he'd be a good fit there. Let him go play there. Don't try and shoehorn him back into the system again like he seems to do every preseason. Just get him gone early doors and let him go do something. Don't continually send him out on loan, because I don't think he's going to get any better at this point. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, he's a player I would definitely sell. I think Diego Dalot has maybe a year or two. Just give him a shot. But I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has showed everything he can be last year. He was poor this year, and I think you just try and get as much money as you can for him and get him out of the way. Now, here's the controversial one. Marcus Rashford. He is a player I would not sell. And I emphasize would not. Please, Manchester United, please do not sell this lad. Marcus Rashford is a fantastic football player at his peak. And I think he still can find that. I think he struggled with confidence and injuries and stuff like that. And I think in a new system, new manager, fresh start, I think Manchester United need to give him at least 2 years. Maybe one if you're being a cynic, but I think at least 2 years for me, personally. And I think he just needs to find that run of form again, because we've seen what an amazing player he can be. And it's important for the youth. I think with a youth academy as strong as Carrington is, I think bringing those players all the way through and become those superstars that you're aiming for, I think that's extremely important for a youth academy like United. And I think the club is built on bringing those youth players all the way through and having them become those superstars. Okay, so I've spoken about some of the potential outgoings and already some of the confirmed outgoings. Let's talk about players that Manchester United could potentially bring in to supplement those. Now, this isn't everybody I would sign necessarily. Obviously, I'm going to put forward a couple of names and players that I would like to see play at Manchester United and in a Manchester United shirt. So we have 4 positions, but I think the midfield is the most important to sign 2 players at that position, as you're going to lose 4 players kind of in that midfield role already this summer. The position I would address is fullback, and I have 2 players to address this position. Now, necessarily I wouldn't sign both of them, but I think one or the other could be a great piece to supplement for United. First one is kind of a more realistic one. I think Jed Spence would be a great acquisition from technically Middlesbrough, but he played his football last year at Forest and was a big key part from the right back position, both attackingly and defensively, to get them promoted this year, and yeah, it was a big part of that playoff run. So the other more unrealistic one is Theo Hernandez from AC Milan. Now, he was absolutely world class this year, and I think you're going to have to pay a lot more for him. Obviously, he's shown how good he's been, and I think it would be a great fit for United to have that both attacking threat, as I mentioned with Jed Spence, and also a class defender too, and somebody who's really proving themselves. Now, a little bit on the older side, but is more in their prime, and somebody I think could make a big contribution to this United team. All right, let's move into the midfield. So I have 2 different slots that I'm filling up here. We have a 6 and then kind of an 8/box-to-box to go in that double pivot. So if you imagine a double pivot, I want one of my guys to be a 6 who can take the ball off the back 4 and a more creative-y box-to-box midfielder. So let's talk about the 6s first. Now, my dream signing would have been Tchouaméni, but he's already gone to Real Madrid, and he's going to be very expensive. So I'm kind of going to exclude him from the conversation. So I have two options. My first would be Ibrahim Sangare from PSV, who I think would be a great signing. Somebody Ten Hag knows relatively well, has played in the same league, knows his kind of caliber, and I'm sure that Ajax have looked at him time and time again while watching other teams, watching PSV, and I think he'd be a great signing. Great six, can take the ball off the back four and give it to the more attacking players and the more creative players. Now down a similar line, but maybe a harder deal to get done, would be Konrad Laimer from Red Bull Leipzig. I think he'd be a great player for Manchester United. However, it might be a difficult deal to get done. As I mentioned, he's in the Red Bull group and he's also Austrian. So depending on the ties with Ralf Rangnick, how badly that relationship may have ended, we're not entirely sure how much of it was Ralf Rangnick's decision to leave and not stay on as a consultant, and how much of it was the board saying, hey, let's push you out of the fold here. So if they did push him out the fold, I think that's a very near impossible deal to get done, because Lehmann's not going to go somewhere where Rangnick's experience and hold in the Red Bull group is quite important. And if he's in Lehmann's ear saying, hey, this is how they treated me, this is how they might treat you, this deal won't get done. He's also Austrian, so we'll be with Rangnick this summer especially. So if the relationship between those two, United and Rangnick, is good, then I'm sure they can get that deal done relatively comfortably, as long as they can come to terms with Leipzig. Okay, so let's move forward to the more creative of the two pivots. So my two options for this are Frankie de Jong and Christian Eriksen. Now, Christian Eriksen on a free deal could be a good asset. However, the only doubts about him is his age. I think he's getting on to about 30 now, and he's not a guy that United will be able to use in the future. He's got a couple of years left in the tank, and he'll be a great presence for United. However, give it 2 years, is he going to be a consistent starter? Probably not. So there is a risk attached to that. Now, the other one is an almost guaranteed home run, really, if you like. I think Frankie de Jong would be an absolutely world-class signing for Manchester United. There are rumours that United just bid 50 million plus 10 million of add-ons for Frankie de Jong, which I think is an absolute steal for a player of his caliber. Obviously, Barcelona need the money. If you want to know more about that, go check out the previous video, which I'll attach at the end of this one. All right, let's move on to the centre-backs. I've got 4 different options, 2 more realistic ones and 2 that are heavily linked with United, and then 2 other more slightly unrealistic but are still linked with Manchester United. So the 2 unrealistic ones is Jules Koundé and Bastoni. Jules Koundé is a guy that Manchester United were linked to heavily while searching for Varane. He was kind of listed as their number 2 option behind Rafa Varane, so I think if you can go re-establish that relationship, you can go get that deal done. The only issue for me is that he is in quite heavy talks with Chelsea, and so if Chelsea want to pry him away, I'm sure they will. Bastoni is a guy who's playing at a high-level Champions League team. What's the draw for him to come to Manchester United? Now, you could say they're building something at the club of Manchester United. However, prying him away from Inter isn't the easiest way to do it, but equally he could be a great dominating presence in the air and really help with those crosses, free kicks, set pieces, etc. Now let's talk real realistic and heavy linkage to Manchester United, if that's even a word. Okay, so the first one I want to discuss is obviously Jurrien Timber, a player who's played for Ten Hag, would be a great pickup, extremely fast, versatile, and a great centre-back. A lot of people say, oh, let's play him at right. No, let's not play him at right back. Let's let him play in the centre-back role, put him next to Varane. Varane will show him where to be, and I think he'll be a great fit for that. I think he works very well in a back four. He has the pace to get back into position should he make mistakes early, and I think he'll be a great fit for Manchester United and Ten Hag's system because it's a system he's already played. Now, Pau Torres is my other option. I think he'd be a great pickup for Manchester United. I think the only areas where he may struggle is the fact he's been playing in a low block and a slower league for Villarreal. However, I think he can definitely make the jump. He shows he can play at the international level for Spain and gets into a highly competitive Spain team. So I think he'd definitely be a great pickup for Manchester United. All right, let's move in towards the more attacking players. Now, these are more difficult deals to get done, in my opinion, but deals that I think you should at least get one of the 3. There are obviously other options, but the biggest one I want to talk about now is, of course, Darwin Núñez. Now, I think Darwin Núñez is an interesting one. I think he's going to be a great striker. Now, he's an unproven commodity, as are all transfers at the end of the day, but he's going to carry a very, very, very hefty price tag. Now, there are heavy rumours that he'll be joining Liverpool next year. Now, if he does join Liverpool, I will be a little bit upset as a Manchester United fan. However, I think he'll be a great player for the future. But 80 million is a lot of money to spend. However, if he scores 20 goals a year, then absolutely everything is worth it. So whether Manchester United should get their deal done, I would absolutely love it. It would be a beautiful pipeline to go from Cristiano Ronaldo to straight into Darwin Núñez and allow them to integrate together, and eventually when Cristiano Ronaldo falls away, Darwin Núñez is a promising bright new star to come in. Now, I know this isn't a Liverpool video, but looking towards Liverpool, I think it'd be a decent fit. I think they already have a lot of attacking players, but if they do lose Sadio Mane this year, which I think they will, and if they do lose even Mo Salah in the next couple of years, could leave them with now a front three of Diaz, Jota on the right side, and then play Darwin Núñez through the middle, which again is a promising and elite front three. Now, the other players I want to talk about is Nkunku. I think he'd be a great fit, not exactly a striker, but a player who's versatile and can fit in multiple different roles. Now, this opens the door. If Cristiano Ronaldo is healthy and playing, then you can play him at the 10, you can play at the right wing, you can play him on the left wing. You can kind of play him wherever. And if Cristiano Ronaldo isn't healthy, then you can play him kind of as that false 9, and I think he'll slot really well into that. Now, my third suggestion is less of an attacking piece, but a guy like Antony, who's played at Ajax, played in the system before, and can slot should Rashford struggle or should Sancho get hurt, etc. So he can slot into that right wing spot, and I think would create a very, very dynamic front three. Now, the only difference of this is he's not a versatile player and he's not a striker. So if Ronaldo goes down injured, you're going to struggle to find replacements. But I think he'd be a good deal to pick up nonetheless. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please go check out this video over here, which is about Barcelona and all their debt troubles. If you're interested in that, I think it's definitely something you guys should check out. And if you enjoyed the video, then please go drop a like. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.